question is to the Minister for Finance, Minister Gallagher. Minister, you recently announced your government's plan for a national digital ID by mid-2024, thereabouts. There is significant concern in the community around this potential rollout. Australians are concerned about their privacy, their data security and the potential for misuse in the future. Minister, it has been said that this digital ID will also be accessed by private corporations and institutions. Can you confirm, if you know, which private corporations or institutions will be granted access to personal identification information? Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Babet. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank Senator Babet for the question and for the heads up on a question about digital ID. The short answer to Senator Babet's question is none in relation to the digital ID, because and I think there is a level of education we have to do about what the digital ID program is, but it is, and I welcome the Coalition's strong support for this important reform. I've seen Mr Fletcher out strongly endorsing it, and so I look forward to working across the chamber to deliver this important reform. But it will be a voluntary, so that's important, a voluntary system, secure, convenient way for Australians to verify their identity online. As we know, Australians are frequently asked to verify their ID for various activities such as changing jobs or renting a house or taking out a phone plan, and of course many government services where they are required to do so. We have our MyGov ID system, so it's already in place now and used by many people. The next step is to put in place legislation to regulate that system. So we have 10.5 million government digital IDs that are being used to access 130 services provided by almost 40 government agencies now. But it's got robust protections, consent rules to ensure personal information is protected through this, but it is actually only a way of verifying identity. So it actually gives more control to the owner of that information, who keeps that information, but it's used to verify your identity. It's not a card or a number. No one holds the information. In order to get a digital ID, you provide a certain amount of information to be verified, but you are the retainer of that information. And so, in many ways, that should address some of those concerns that you've raised.
Senator Babet, first supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. So basically there you've said that people's personal information, or this digital ID system in whatever shape it takes, private institutions, private businesses, private corporations will never, ever be able to access this information to find out particular details about people out in the community. Is that correct?
Thank you, Senator Babet. Minister Gallagher.
So, well, private organisations already hold a lot of information about people, and in fact, in some cases, are required to hold that information, whether it be, in your 100-point check for your open a banking account. So, these organisations already hold a lot of information. The idea with a digital ID system and the interoperability between a public and a private network, we are looking to phase it, but obviously this is legislation that will come to this chamber. I have no doubt it will go through a committee process as well. We're going to release an exposure draft, hopefully around September, so that people will be able to involve themselves in that. But the idea is, once you're verified, that gives you access to a whole range of services. So it's about proving your identity, being verified, and then using that verification to access programs that actually reduces the amount of information you have to provide to other organisations.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Babet, second supplementary.
Thank you. Now, Minister, you've said that it's not going to be compulsory, and I hope that's right, but it wasn't compulsory either, and look what happened there. Take it or you don't get a job, right? So what guarantee do we have from your government that this will 100% not be compulsory? Will you write it into the legislation itself in black and white? This is not compulsory forever and always, the end.
Thank you, Senator Babet. Minister Gallagher.
We're certainly making it clear that it's voluntary, and as part of that, government has to maintain systems that allows people to use and engage with the government without a digital ID. The digital ID, and they're currently doing it, 10.5 million people or million accounts that are used across 130 different programs. So I think people are understanding, I think, because of all the breaches we've had, about the need to look at secure ways to retain your own information and put strong privacy arrangements around it. And I think because people are so connected and using devices all the time, they're more comfortable with ideas around digital ID. But it's absolutely voluntary. Nobody can force anybody to have a digital identity at all. And government systems will have to be maintained and should be maintained to ensure that people are able to interact with government as they choose.